Morning, guys. This is Dr. Corey at the Diet Doc, and welcome to Monday and your motivational mastery session. So, have you ever gone on a trip, on vacation, and you had the best of intentions, but you came back and you were a little bit disappointed with your behavior? You had set some goals before you went, and you had elicited some support from the people who were going to be there with you, but you didn't use it. And you came back and you recognized that you were a bit impulsive and you didn't utilize your self-control as best as you probably could have. Okay, well, I received an email this past week from someone who was a little bit disappointed with her behavior. She wasn't going to let it get her down, and she was jumping back on track quickly. But she said, I took quite the diet break when I was on vacation, and it reflected on the scale. Was I proud? She said, no. She said she ate to the point of being overly stuffed at times. She didn't demonstrate self-control. She said I was definitely impulsive, and she isn't really sure why. She said I only got in exercise one day while I was gone. Now, this is the interesting part, and she said, when I was gone, I received a ton of compliments about what great shape I was in. And these were from strangers. She said, it felt awesome, but after the first day of vacation, I caved and I went downhill from then on. So I want to talk to you guys today about 3 keys to mastering your goals, okay? Mastery is a concept that really conveys a sense of curiosity, of long-term growth, understanding, accessing knowledge, and then applying it over a longer period of time. But how does that relate to our motivation, our momentum, and then what happens when we make mistakes like this person did? When I responded to her email, I said, I need you to know one thing first. The best predictor of future behavior is not necessarily past behavior. If we are individuals who have a growth mindset, who are operating with an approach of, this is an opportunity for me to take stock and see what efforts I can put forth now in the present in order to make much better future decisions, then we're going to gain momentum. Our self-esteem increases when we can take that step forward. So I wanted her to understand that rather than getting stuck in what happened, what we need to do now is focus on the present and understand that it's what we believe, is possible, and our willingness to put effort and awareness in the present that's going to dictate our future. Number 1, okay? Number 2, I was drawn in by these compliments that she was receiving. And what happens when we receive a compliment, it feels really good, right? We get a dopamine rush. And it can prompt this feeling of closure. So I've been working really hard on this fat loss goal. I've been very diligent in my training regimen. I'm going to the gym, I'm doing my cardio, I've changed my nutrition, and it's showing. I'm changing. not just physically, but mentally also. And it was almost like in that moment, she's receiving all these compliments and she's like, my work is done. All of the effort that I've put forth, like it has culminated in this body and people are saying, wow, you look awesome. I'm done. The goal's been accomplished. Consciously, when we think about that, I mean, she's still got weight that she would like to lose. Consciously, she knows she's not done. But in that moment, subconsciously, dopamine is released, and it's like that open circuit, because the brain doesn't like open loops, right? That circuit has been closed. Okay, done. Now I can relax a little bit. I can let go of my inhibitions and just experience a little bit of release in terms of what I know I need to do. And we know that when we have goals, we need to inhibit certain actions in order to exhibit positive actions that are going to move us forward, right? So it's just like when we say, you know, I'm committing to something. I'm going to start on Monday, right? And we feel really good in the moment when we say that. It's like we've already done it, except realistically, now is when the effort really begins and the planning. We have to look at what we want to accomplish, decide what the benefits are, weigh the outcomes, ask if we're willing to pay the price, and then make our plans. Okay? So in this case too, if she in the back of her mind was saying, you know, I can always get back to where I was before I left. She leaves the door open for behaviors and actions that she's not going to be proud of. She's always then going to be feeling like she's coming in from behind, like she's behind the 8 ball. And I feel like it feels much better when we can stand in our power in the moment and continue moving forward instead of feeling like we're chasing something. So it's in those times of uncertainty, because she said, like, my routine, I always do better when I'm in my routine and there's structure. And I agreed. We all do. We all have to have those guidelines that are in place that provide those bright barriers that say, this is positive behavior, this wouldn't be in your best interest, like if then implementation intention, so if this happens, then this is the way I'm going to respond. Structure is number one. We have to have a foundation from which to move forward with. So in times when we're in a foreign land, vacation, there's uncertainty, we don't have the comforts of our typical routine, I structure awareness breaks. So how do we find structure in the times when there isn't any? Okay, if we can't get the same workout at the same time, if we don't have the same foods available, well, we always have our brains with us, right? We always have our breathing with us. There are certain things that we will always have with us, no matter where we go or what situation we're in. We have our awareness. So if she had structured throughout her vacation, throughout each day, an awareness break where she could ask herself, okay, what's happening here? You know, where am I feeling a bit weaker? And what needs doing? What needs doing right now? That's my go-to question. Okay, so number one, the best predictor of future behavior is not past behavior. Okay, it's our willingness to stand in the present and ask ourselves, what do I believe I'm capable of, and what do I believe I can figure out now? Number two is to structure within uncertain times and environments. Okay. Number three is always come back to our fundamentals. Okay. our foundational activities that got us where we are now. Oftentimes when we feel stressed, we feel anxious, there are things happening within the environment that we don't necessarily have any control over, okay? Then we feel like we don't have any choices. Well, we always have a choice. We always have a choice in terms of how we are going to respond in that moment. Viktor Frankl said, between the stimulus and the response, there's a space. And in that space is our freedom to choose how to respond. He's exactly right, okay? While we may not be able to control the weather, we can have an influence over how we respond to it, what we're gonna wear, how we're gonna drive, if the roads are wet from the rain. You guys get my point. But our fundamentals, if we don't have a good concept of how we have achieved what we've achieved, then we're always going to feel like we're just kind of blowing in the wind whenever something happens that feels uncomfortable. So for her to come back to her fundamentals, sleep, right? Appropriate nutrition, getting in some type of daily activity, these are the things that have gotten her to where she is. Now, they're not going to look the same being somewhere that is unfamiliar, but they seem to be the things that when it's unfamiliar, we let go of, and we need to hold on to them even tighter in those moments. Come back to them. Come back to the fundamentals, okay? They're the caulk in the cracks of our foundation. They hold everything together, all right? So that's number 3. All right, guys, go rock your Mondays. Thanks.